The movie is based on the life of professional wrestler Kevin Von Erich and the Von Erich family. In the backstory, wrestler Jack Fritz Von Erich performs in the ring. Fritz puts on a real show for the audience and ends the victorious fight with his signature move, the Iron Claw. After the fight, his wife Doris and their 2 sons are waiting for him outside. Jack shows them the new car attached to the RV they live in. He bought the new car to look more solid and earn more lucrative contracts. However, his spouse is unhappy with the purchase, believing that they can't afford it. The story moves forward in time to 1979. Kevin, one of Jack's sons, starts the morning with a jog. Afterward, he works out at the gym to keep in top shape. In the meantime, he remembers his fight for the title of Texas heavyweight wrestling champion. He won that fight with a spectacular jump off the ropes. Over breakfast, the father turns to his youngest son Mike to talk about his future. Mike wants to pursue music, while his 3 older brothers are pursuing athletic careers. Kevin is a wrestling champion. David is preparing for his wrestling debut, and Carrie is preparing for the Olympics. He is throwing the discus. Later, Kevin asks his mother to stand up for his youngest, but she refuses, believing that her husband will figure out how her sons should be raised. Kevin records an interview before the upcoming fight, where his brother is to make his debut. David's participation is kept secret, so he cannot come to the rescue when his older brother confuses his words, unable to convey a dignified address to his opponent. However, on the night of the show, the brothers discuss the plan for the fight, spelling out which of them will do what. In their debut fight, David performs well and helps his brother retain the championship belt. Afterward, the brothers sign autographs for fans. Kevin meets Pam, but at the meeting he behaves inhibitedly and stupidly, forcing the girl to act as an initiator of the first date. At the cafe, the guy reveals that he's not really the oldest kid in the family. His older brother Jackie died when he was still a child. This tragedy is allegedly associated with a family curse. His father changed the family surname from Native to Erich, the maiden name of his mother, in whose family there were constantly accidents. But Kevin himself does not believe in this superstition. Meanwhile, Jack is informed that the International Wrestling Association wants to give his son a chance to get the world title. To do this, Kevin will have to fight the current champion Harley Race. At the same time, the first fight will be a trial. Only after defeating the opponent, the guy will get a chance for a title fight. The wrestlers meet in the ring in a fierce match. Reese first time owns the initiative, despite the fact that Kevin confidently answers him. The young wrestler even manages to put his former opponent down on the ring floor. But Reese gets up and tosses his opponent over the ropes. Reese jumps after him and throws Kevin straight onto the concrete floor. Not expecting such an onslaught, Kevin barely gets up as the ref counts to 10. Kevin struggles to get back into the ring, where Reese wants to throw him down once more. Kevin breaks free and strikes back, nearly putting his opponent on his back. Now the champion breaks free, throwing the referee out of the ring in the process. Reyes is disqualified for this, but he continues to attack Kevin. David then intervenes in the fight. Flying into the ring, David attacks the champion from behind, throwing him over the ropes. The brothers take the microphone and perform for the audience, earning themselves glory points in the eyes of the audience. After the fight in the locker room, their father praises David for a great show and reprimands Kevin for being too slow to get up after the throw. As Jack leaves, David supports the frustrated athlete. Meanwhile, Carrie is throwing discus in preparation for his first Olympics. But it turns out that the government, as part of its Sports Beyond Politics program, is telling athletes to boycott the Olympics in Moscow. Deprived of further prospects, David returns to his father's house, where his relatives welcome him with open arms and a friendly football match. At a family dinner, Pam meets Kevin's relatives. She learns that Mike plays in a musical band. Tonight the band is scheduled to perform, but parents forbid their underage son to go to the concert. Then the brothers, along with Pam, help him sneak out and take him to the performance. While the others are enjoying the music and alcohol, Pam calls Kevin into the car for some fun. Soon, Jack wants Carrie to fight alongside his brothers in the ring. He agrees, and the brothers fight shoulder to shoulder, training, practicing sneaky punches and holds, and working out at the gym to keep themselves in top shape. David, whose natural artistry makes him a flamboyant showman, is in charge of the team's presentation. In 1983, after defeating the amazing Freebirds, the Von Erich brothers become the World Trios Wrestling Champions. Speaking to the public, Jack calls them the greatest family in the history of wrestling and declares that his sons will win individual championship belts. Such a chance soon comes their way. The promotion offers the charismatic David to compete for the championship belt, but first he has to compete in several fights in different states and even in Japan. Although David did not want to compete with Kevin, he agrees. Kevin himself, in parallel with his sports career, establishes a life with Pam. They move into a separate apartment and get married. At the wedding, Kevin notices that David vomits blood in the toilet. At this, younger brother refuses to see a doctor. David apologizes for agreeing to fight for the championship belt, but Kevin says he holds no grudge against him and is the first of all the relatives to tell him that Pam is pregnant. After the wedding, Kevin visits his father, where he learns the terrible news that David died in Japan from a ruptured intestine. Blaming himself for not convincing his brother to see a doctor in time, he finds a postcard from David. In it, his brother writes that they took his autograph, mistaking him for Kevin. At the funeral, the brothers, remembering their father's words that men do not cry, carefully restrain their emotions. In the evening, Jack reminds them that despite the tragedy, the family has important things to do. They need to win the world heavyweight title. To decide which brother Kevin or Kerry will go to the fight, the father flips a coin. In the next scene, Kevin is warming up while watching Kerry go to the fight. While the men are away, Doris watches the broadcast of the fight on TV. Kerry becomes the new heavyweight champion of the world. After bringing home the championship belt, he stares at it indifferently, drinking one can of beer after another. When Kevin enters, Kerry says he's going for a ride on his favorite motorcycle on the highway at night. In the next scene, Kevin wakes up in bed, gets up on crutches and walks to the kitchen. It becomes clear that he has lost one leg after the motorcycle accident. At this time, Kevin and his wife decide to change their newborn son's surname from his grandmother's to his grandfather's. The curse may be just a fabrication, but several tragic events in a row are too suspicious to risk further. For lack of more suitable candidates to be the next champion, Kevin begins training Mike. Soon Mike makes his in-ring debut, but while performing a dropkick, he falls unluckily and injures his shoulder. But much worse, during surgery, Mike falls into a coma caused by toxic shock. Kevin finds himself thinking more and more strongly about the mythical family curse. When Mike comes out of the coma, he suffers permanent brain damage, which affects his mental performance and reactions. Despite what has happened, relatives continue to pretend that everything will be fine. Kevin's own career is slowly going downhill. He is forced to perform with other wrestlers in the team, but spends more and more time outside the ring, while all the glory goes to his teammates. Kerry tries on a prosthetic leg to get back in the ring, but his first training sessions cause him incredible pain. Kerry can't run and is very stiff in his movements. Mike tries to return to playing the guitar, but after the coma, his hands do not obey him well. Unable to come to terms with his current state and the sadness in his family's eyes when they look at him, Mike takes a pack of pills, washes them down with beer, and, leaving a goodbye note, leaves the house at night. In the morning, the whole family goes looking for him, but finds only a breathless body in a field. At the funeral of another brother, Kevin continues to hold back his emotions, as his father taught him. He discharges his sadness in training, jogging between the ropes and working hard to keep fit. Kevin increasingly sleeps at the gym rather than in the apartment with his wife and son. Kevin is soon to face the reigning champion Ric Flair. The battles between the two in the ring look truly exciting. The decisive fight ends with Kevin's signature move, the Iron Claw. However, Kevin stubbornly refuses to comply with the referee's demand to let his opponent go, and in the end, he is dragged away by security guards. After the fight, which ended in Kevin's disqualification, Flair, with his head bloodied and his championship belt retained, enters the locker room, suggesting a rematch. After such a spectacular fight, ticket sales and fees should skyrocket. But Kevin, rethinking his entire life, abruptly refuses. Kevin returns to his family, where he raises two sons, while keeping an eye on his father's gym, where new fighters train. A few years later, however, Pam is pregnant again, and the apartment becomes too cramped for a large family. Kevin receives an offer from a competitor to sell the family business. While visiting his father's house, he discusses this with Jack, but he categorically forbids it under threat of a big quarrel. At Christmas, the family gathers under the roof of his father's house. In addition to Kevin's family, Kerry arrives. He fights in the ring, hiding his prosthetic leg from everyone. Jack is even more proud of him than Kevin. When Kerry gives him a gun for his collection, Jack hides it in a closet instead of making a test shot. The son is unhappy with this decision, which almost leads to a fight between them. Shortly thereafter, Kerry calls Kevin in the middle of the night to tell him about his worries. Amidst everything that has happened to their family, and the divorce from his wife, Kerry sees no point in moving on with his life. Sensing that his brother needs urgent help, Kevin asks where he is, promising to come get him, but Kerry hangs up. Kevin then calls his father and asks to speak to Kerry urgently. The next day, Kevin goes to Jack's house. Before he can go inside, he hears a gunshot and runs to a huge oak tree, behind the trunk of which Kerry shot himself in the head with a gift gun. Soon Jack comes running in. Kevin blames him for Kerry's death, since Jack didn't look after him or provide moral support. Kevin attacks the old man, almost strangling him, but he pulls himself together in time. After picking up Kerry's body, the guy goes to the house, where he puts him on the table. In the next scene, Kerry walks out of the house, hopping confidently on 2 legs. He floats down the river in a boat, leaving a coin as payment, the same coin that picked him once to fight for the championship belt. On the wooden pier, his brothers, David and Mike, are already waiting for him. Along with them is a little boy, Jackie, the same older brother who died in childhood. All the brothers hug while in reality the last surviving brother Kevin mourns over Kerry's body. Afterward, Kevin sells the family business to a competitor despite his father's ban. On top of that, Jack has enough problems as it is. Doris, having buried 4 of her 5 sons, became disillusioned with family life and gave up her duties as a housewife for her hobby, painting. Kevin, along with his children and pregnant wife, moved to a country house. Seeing his sons running around the lawn, Kevin cannot hold back tears, longing for his dead brothers. Noticing this, the children run to their father. Kevin apologizes for crying, still convinced that men don't cry, but the children remind him with childlike directness that they cry all the time. They ask their father what makes him sad. Kevin confesses that he has no brothers left. The sons then say that they will be his brothers. The touched father, hearing this, goes to play football with the children. In 2009, the Von Erich family was inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame and is still considered the most prominent family in wrestling. Kevin and Pam have been married for 40 years and now live on the ranch with their 4 children and 13 grandchildren.